was here and 3 ladies came and spoke. How was it possible that Neeraj would not be found amongst them? The second, and I think it takes some guts to contradict the governor, but he said that I am not a good speaker and all that. I have heard him many times. And if I can make a filmy dialogue to speak better than him, मुश्किल ही नहीं है, नामुमकिन है. But if my story of my life had always been thrown into the deep end of the pool, and imagine I have to speak after him. I was told initially that he'll be leaving, so I was hoping somebody will pay attention. But my topic is to think differently. As you can see, the lovely backdrop from where I come. All of you recognize this man? Did he think differently? Yes, he did. But many others don't. And tell me what is common amongst these people. What is common with everybody on this slide? They've all gone. They were all names to be reckoned with. They've all gone. How many of you know a phenomenon called the S-curve? Raise your hand, please. Can't have a dialogue apart from my Valentine. Alright, please go and see this. The point, the long and short of it is, initially there's a small dip when you're doing research or preparing your ground. Then there's an upswing of your graph. And then it plateaus out at the maturity level, and then you go into decline. Every single organization goes through that. If you don't read the signals at the right time, if you don't see the environment around you at the right time, this will happen to you. And this is a small list. In the last 100 years, more than 80% of well-reputed companies are no more there. Why is this of concern to me personally? I'm heading a school which is a 140-year-old brand. So we have to keep reinventing ourselves. And if this can be done with a brand which is 140 years old, for many of you who have newer schools, please be on the alert. It can be done. Everyone says, when is 2030? 2030 is already here. Your boys who are in grade 8 and 9 will be in their mid-20s in 2030. So what you do with them now is going to happen in 2030. So 2030 is already arrived for us. So what are the impediments to thinking differently? One is conformity. If you conform, your bosses are happy, parents are happy, students are in any case disinterested. Then there is complacency. For an old established school like mine, इतने सालों से चलते आ रहे, ठीक ही तो है, why touch it? But ठीक था, कल के लिए ठीक नहीं होगा. And then it becomes habit forming. And notwithstanding what was said about Franklin Covey yesterday, he's talking about what to do, not how to do it. But we go into the habit formation of how. ऐसे ही करना है, ऐसे ही होगा. And the last part, and none of us are saints, hubris. I know best, I know better. Whether you are a promoter, owner, principal, even a teacher, head of department, you know best. After some time, hubris gets you. So what are the ingredients of thinking differently? Yesterday, Colonel Shekhar spoke to you about BHAG. So I want to repeat it. You got to keep updating your BHAG. I'll give you an example. How many of you heard of a lady called Naomi Simpson of Australia? Anybody? Anyway, she wanted to gift people everything. So she said, if I gift people flowers, roses, chocolates, nobody remembers, it goes off. So instead of giving things, let me give them an experience. So she started a thing called Red Balloon. This was in 2003. She said, by 2015, I can't do it for the entire Australian population of 20 million. So let me set reasonable goals. She said 10%. So 2 million people I should have given an experience of a free balloon ride. She finished her target by 2013. The first million took her 10 years. The next million, 2. So she's updated her blog and now she's going to 5 million. So she set up a good BHAG, achieved it, and now she's upgraded it to the next. Communication. I think we all know how important this is. And Neeraj also spoke about it. But I'll give you two quick examples. Sorry. This is an ad about lung cancer. Does it convey a lot? One more. Oh, sorry. What did this talk about water management? I think you've all seen something like this before. Complaints. This is very important. Jack Ma family said, look for who's complaining about what, and you will find business opportunities there. Now Swati is doing a great job about complaining about the 400 million below, because there is business to be done at the bottom of the pyramid. I think Jack Ma knows a thing or two about this. Underdog mentality, this is very important. This is the opposite of hubris. You've got to have that David and Goliath feeling that you are David. And I'll give you an example of a David. Any of you heard of a guy called David Ogilvy? You heard of a company called Ogilvy and Mather and all that later on. So David Ogilvy was a young copywriter who got his first big break. There were two big companies, Hertz and Avis. And Avis was continuously number 2. And he was asked to come up as a copywriter with a good ad line. He says, Avis is only number 2, so we try harder. And therefore he offered better customer services. You can have a look at the slide, what else he said. But essentially his point was, how to push Avis. He said, we are number 2, but we are trying harder. We give you better service, better customer satisfaction. And there are a million examples I can give you of underdog advertising. If anybody has the patience, you want to read through the slide?
The last line is beautiful.
Last line says, the line at our counter is shorter.
It is such an amazing line.
Exactly. See the simplicity and the brilliance in it. Communication is always simple and effective and is always spoken in the language people understand. With due respect to Shashi Tharoor. Crazy ideas may not always be crazy. But in those crazy ideas will be the seeds of something fantastic. And I'll tell you some better people, better and smarter than me, who use this phrase. They were all saying that this guy thinks differently, crazy thoughts and things that would never work. Jack Ma, I think, already seen. But there's another equally famous guy who said the same thing. This is the head of Google telling you that there are only 5 search engines. And please go back and see what's happened to the websites. AOL, Yahoo, they were miles ahead of Google at one time. They are history now. So my last bit is, how can someone click onto this? Are you technologically challenged? Just click on this. No laptops? This I think is what's in. Even if you have to get onto the internet and do it, good. One of the things is learn to think differently. Don't be fixated on your format. Okay, I think if you don't have time, then I don't have the inclination. So you can have a look at this. This is a very famous ad made by Apple about how they have used what they call all the crazy people in history and how Apple has come up to be what the product it is. It's a very short video, but it's really worth seeing. And I think one last chance I give you. Give up? Just proves my point. I can think differently than ScooNews can. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for a wonderful, wonderful session. I now
one of my best principles, so I must compliment him. I have a small story also on brand. How important brand is and is. I don't know if you know about what Sony is today. Sony is doing so well. But after this Second World War, Japan was in the doldrums. They were coming up, and there were only small little SMEs, small and medium enterprises, furnishing in garages. And Sony was one of them. And most of the people here would not know that in those days they used to have these big radios in the 50s, so you're not from that era anyway. There used to be these big radios, then the transistors came. And the transistors became smaller and smaller, but had to have the reception, the sound system and all that. Sony, and one of the founders, he writes in his biography, go through that, Akio Marito. And he writes that he made this most beautiful little transistor. There were no buyers in Japan. He went to US, and in the US he said that I want to sell this. And he was in a garage only. And when he put that out, the next day there were big people who were in this radio business, and they came, saw it, and he could not believe the order that he was given. He said, we'll give you 2 lakh pieces immediately. We'll give you check right now and all that. Please give us orders how you can do it. The whole night he didn't sleep. He was thinking, I'll have a big factory, I'll have to do this, that, how I'll be able to meet the orders and all that. And the next morning, when they had all the papers ready, there was one condition that those people put to him. And he said, yes, but the brand will be, we'll put our brand, not this one. And if that had happened, Sony would not have been what Sony is. So, but he went, and today what Sony is, what you're saying. But more than that is what the Prime Minister is talking about, nationalism. So behind all this was the national feeling of Akio Marito. He did not, he wanted it to be Japanese. Today, Japanese product is so good. When you have the Canon and any of these cameras or anything, if it is written made in Japan, you go for it. It is made in lots of other countries, but you don't. So that is the story on brand. How important brand is, how to create a brand. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So even we think differently, so here's the video.